Hi everyone, it's Amanda Mombourquette, your counselor in District 4 and warden for Richmond County, for the next few weeks anyways. We're looking forward now to an October 19th municipal election, and I'm happy to say that I am running again to be your District 4 counselor, which covers the St. Peters, River Bourgeois, Oban, and Grand Grave areas. Folks who know me know that I have a background in economic and business development. I've worked in this region for a little better than 20 years, trying to build our communities and make them into a better place, to improve our quality of life, to make sure that we are all prosperous living here in Richmond County. And I recall now, back in 2020, why I felt the need to run for council. And it really was about changing the narrative about Richmond County, emerging from the troubles of our past into a more productive and respectful future. And I'm really proud to say in the 4 years that our council has been at work, we've really achieved so much in that direction. Coming into council chambers now is an experience that we look forward to, and it's one where residents and businesses feel welcomed as well. And that's really key because those relationships and that engagement with the public is critically important to make sure that we're developing policies and programs that are appropriate and that are desired by the people who live here. So what does it mean to be a counselor? Well, for me, what the job has meant is that, I know folks watching our council meetings, they see us twice a month at our committee of the whole and at our regular council meetings, but that really is not where the bulk of the work takes place. The bulk of the work takes place at the committee level. Aside from chairing our regular council and committee of the whole, I also chair many other committees as warden, including our audit committee, our bylaw and policy committee, which has been on fire these last 4 years, making policies that are helpful for the people who live here. I chair our Inclusivity, Diversity, Equity, and Accessibility Committee, our Municipal Emergency Management Advisory Committee, and I co-chair the Collaborative Environmental Protection Initiative with my great friend, Mary Beth Doucette, as well as co-chair the Straight Richmond Housing Matters Coalition with my friend Cheryl DeVoe. I've also, in the last 4 years, been an active participant on the Alan J. McCachran Regional Airport Committee, the Cape Breton Liaison Oversight Committee, the Planning Advisory Committee, the Richmond Villa Board of Directors, the Richmond Port Hawkesbury Joint Park Commission, Cape Breton South Recruiting for Health, Biduba, and the Strait Area Transit Board of Directors, where I'm currently sitting as a secretary. So when I say a lot of the committee work gets done, a lot of the work gets done at committee level, it truly means that all of the work of these committees, which includes my fellow councilors from Richmond County, from other municipalities, as well as community members, that all gets funneled back up to our committee of the whole and our regular council meeting, and it's where we really have the opportunity to make a positive impact on the region. I want to mention that in terms of committee work, in the past, we kind of came into a system where our committee structure was a little outdated. It was not in compliance even with our own bylaws, provincial legislation, and our legal responsibilities. So we spent a number of years working on a robust committee policy. And I want to thank our staff at the municipality for being so instrumental in that work. It's the committee policy really outlines the responsibility for councillors. It outlines where we need to be plugged into which boards and committees. And it really brought that structure from a state of disarray into one of order, and one that really outlines, if you're sitting on a committee, then what does that mean in terms of your responsibility to kind of report back to council? So we were really excited to get that committee policy passed in June 2024 because it helps to really solidify what the job of being a councillor is. So, and of course, the job of being a councillor also includes really important constituency work as well, connecting residents and businesses to programs and services that they're looking for. A lot of the issues that we hear about, everything from property assessments to road conditions to housing availability, a lot of those things are somewhat outside of the control and the jurisdiction of a municipal unit. But it has been really, I think, important for our councillors and been rewarding for me to be able to develop relationships with other levels of government to help people get connected to the services and programs that they need. And of course, a big part of the job, especially as warden, has been building community relationships and building intermunicipal relationships. We've worked really hard to strengthen our relationship with places like the Village of St. Peter's, which is a municipal unit of its own, and establishing policy that supports those relationships. Our relationship now with the town of Port Hawkesbury is probably at an all-time high because we have decided and been actively working and collaborating together on everything from fire protection services to healthcare professional recruitment to housing. And although at the end of the day, as councillors, we are elected within our specific geographic districts, when we get to the table, what I quickly came to understand was that our job is not just to consider what's happening in our own backyard. Our job is to consider the welfare and interests of people all across the municipality as a whole, and to participate in developing and evaluating the programs of the municipality. And that has been, I think, one of the things that our council has truly excelled at, particularly in comparison to the days of the past. And working together to make sure that what's good for the Village of St. Peter's is also good for, for Ayrshad, is good for Lordways. These are the things, that's the approach, I think, that we all need to take to make sure that we're growing our county together. I've learned a lot from the residents who are living and working here and heard a lot about what they're concerned about. And one of the things that I hear consistently is that they truly appreciate how respectful the council chambers have become, how we are tuned in to what's happening in our communities. And I want to just take this opportunity to thank all of my constituents in particular for continuing to support the work that we're doing here and for being willing to share your opinions and ideas. So I also want to talk to you today a little bit about some of the work that we've been undertaking in terms of policy development that are improving the lives of our constituents here in Nova Scotia. So again, I mentioned, when we came into council, our committee structure, terms of reference, there was a bit of disarray that had occurred, and a lot of that was because our council had been reduced in size from 10 councillors to 5. So it was really important that we undertake this piece of work to structure things appropriately, but also to look at consistency and being able to communicate to the public so that we can have folks like yourselves involved in the activity of council. So if we're asking you to sit on a committee, what does that committee do? What's the role? What's the level of effort that's going to be required, et cetera. So some of the things that we've done is we've standardized the terms of references for our committees. Anyone who is following municipal council will see that we've been approving those steadily as we kind of get through them. We've focused on housing and affordability. Affordability is absolutely one of the things that keeps people up at night. I know that there are many folks who are struggling to pay their bills, and struggling to pay rent. So one of the things that we did, which I'm extremely proud of, and is somewhat unique in Nova Scotia, is we developed a capital improvement and development policy. This policy specifically provides an incentive for private developers to work with the municipality by waiving permit fees and by creating a structure by which the municipality can help invest in infrastructure such as water and sewer to help establish new housing developments, especially affordable housing developments. It's a fairly unique policy, and it takes advantage of the willingness that we've heard from developers in our region to work with the county, but just needing some supports to do that. And I'm happy to say that it's working well. The amendments that we did to the Central Richmond Secondary Plan and the Land Use Bylaw to allow former institutional buildings to be converted into dwelling units has very concretely resulted in a successful bid by Brela Construction to repurpose the former West Richmond Education Center into seniors housing. So it's extremely important for us to be undertaking policy that has an actual impact, a really tangible impact on the ground. And, when it comes to affordability, one of the things that our council has recently introduced was also a low-income property tax rebate program. And the details of this are on our website, but it's essentially it follows the general direction of the provincial property tax rebate program, but provides an added, a supplemental, I guess I should say, policy where people can take advantage of that at the municipal level as well. if they don't qualify for other programs. From an accountability perspective, I've mentioned our committee policy, but additional important policies we've developed to date are our strategic communications plan and the policy that goes with it. That was a groundbreaking policy that really took the former sort of statement of intent that we had around communications and outlined a very concrete tactical type of document that takes all of the uncertainty out of what people can expect from their municipality when it comes to us communicating progress. We've changed accordingly with that our website content and maintenance policy, completely revamped the website so that it's more accessible. We've developed a new social media policy. And I'm really happy to say that this past year, we developed a policy and a practice of publishing our full agendas and full meeting packages on our website so that people coming in and wanting to participate in council meetings, ask questions at question period, have all of the information that councillors do. It's a fully transparent system that we've adopted, and I think is a step in the right direction. When it comes to community growth, things that we have reinstated, I guess, back into council is our grants policy. So, this had been a program, the grants program, that had been shut down by previous councils, and for a variety of reasons, and I'm sure that cost efficiency was one of them. But what we had heard knocking on doors in 2020, what I'm hearing now in 2024, is that community groups really depend on the municipality to be able to be there, to be at the table, even if it's in a small financial way, so that they can leverage funds from provincial government, federal government, and other types of funding agencies to be able to get really awesome work done in our communities, whether it's a playground or whether it's an event. At the end of the day, a lot of the ability to leverage funds will often depend on the municipality being present at the table. So we've reinstated that and investing at this point, I believe, upwards of $300,000 a year in various community programs, and that includes everything from our senior safety and social inclusion work to our healthcare recruitment to straight area transit. One of the things that I'm looking forward to in the coming years, should I be successful in this next election, is working on additional road trails designation. We're hearing a lot from our constituents, especially our ATV clubs, about how there's such a great opportunity for us to be better connected to each other, but also better connected to other parts of Cape Breton Island, so that we can be a full participant in the fully accessible trails development work that's happening. And certainly we look to our friends in Inverness County and the amazing example they've set there with the coastal trail. Looking forward to strengthening things like our dog bylaw to make sure that it includes not just teeth for when things go wrong and when dogs are out of control in our county, but also that it includes protection mechanisms for owners and the animals themselves. And looking at developing, hopefully later this month, prior to the election, we've fully developed a council procedural policy and looking at probably passing that in October, to make sure that the new council coming in will have a really strong footing to stand on and that council meetings are consistently being run. But what do these policies mean for you? Well, essentially, they're the types of policies that will stimulate the development of housing that's affordable, like Breela's West Richmond Education Centre project and potentially new subdivisions coming into other locations of the county. They'll help to provide tax relief for people with low income. They will help provide clarity on the role of your municipal government and how you can best engage with us and how you can best influence our decision making. And they'll result in investments back into the community for the causes that are important to you, and a host of other benefits. What I often say about municipal government is that we are the level of government that's closest to the people. So we have the ability to have really tangible results on the ground with the decisions we make at the council table. So speaking of the decisions that we make at the council table, I want to just talk a little bit about some of the achievements that we've had over the past 4 years. I've mentioned a few, but as I was reflecting on this, and then recently as we passed our budget for this past fiscal year, we kind of put together a term in review sheet within that budget document, and that can be found on our website. But when I looked back at it, I looked at the additional support compared to when we came in 2020. What's happening now? The additional support that we are providing for seniors in our community. We have a whole new section on our website that's dedicated to, to providing resources and information and access to grant information for our seniors. Again, the low-income property tax exemption. We have staff participating actively now at the Seniors Take Action Coalition. Our recreation program is full of age-friendly programs of all sorts for all ages. We helped to initiate the Acting Collectively project that provided action plans and information on how we can best support seniors in our community. We've taken some really great strides in this regard, and seniors make up a large percentage of our population here in Richmond County. They're also a large percentage of our volunteer base. And so our goal really was to make sure that we were supporting our seniors the best way that we can and providing programs and opportunities that were meaningful to them. Again, I mentioned we reestablished our grants to groups, and we've doled out somewhere over $190,000 just through our grant application process. So that doesn't include the full investment that we make at each budget, which I mentioned is upwards of $300. This is just over the last 4 years, the grant applications that people can apply for throughout the year, not just the ones we make at budget time decision. We've, over the past 4 years, allocated about a little over $1 million to our communities in the way of annual funding contributions in general. So it's an exciting, proposition for us to know that we are making an impact in the community organizations that are most important to the residents who live here. We've refreshed our strategic plan. It's helped us to plan and engage our communities and our groups for these last couple of years in particular. We've added staff such as our community development and special projects officer to see this plan through to success with enhanced grant activity, support, and engagement. We have designated a fund specifically for waterfront development to support infrastructure projects, and that fund has been put to great use in the county, such as the renewal that we're seeing at the River Bourgeois Marina right now. We've established a new surf hut down in Point Michaud to support the recreation programming and to support the addition of accessibility equipment to that region, to that particular beach. The Moby mats and the cycles that we've seen. I've seen some fantastic pictures from constituents from all over the county who have been at Point Michaud Beach and enjoying those amenities in a way that they never would have been able to before. We established a 10-year fire services contract for Point Tupper to stabilize fire protection in that region, which contributes so much tax dollars to our tax base and helps to keep all of our taxes lower here in Richmond County. Stabilizing that fire protection for that region makes the Point Tupper Heavy Industrial Park a more desirable place for new companies to invest. It helps to create certainty for the businesses who are already there, and it impacts everything from the actual fire protection to their insurance rates. So this was a key piece of work that we were able to accomplish within the first, I believe, year that our council was elected. And having that long-term runway for stability on fire protection is making a big difference to the new companies that are looking to locate there now. We acquired in this last term over $300,000 from the Atlantic Canada Opportunities Agency to help our community centers upgrade their buildings and supplies to serve as shelters when the need arises. And I know several halls in District 4 have been successful in accessing AEDs and other types of equipment to make sure that they are able to provide a safe haven in a time of crisis. We've, from an accountability perspective, one of the first things that we did when we became counselors in 2020 was we added question period back into our meetings. Again, we've developed that comprehensive committees policy, the communications policy. It includes the publication of the full agendas, as I mentioned. We've also established a practice at our council meetings, specifically Committee of the Whole, of celebrating success around the council table so that we can better engage and highlight the incredible achievements that our citizens are making. And we do that through our Volunteer of the Month and through other special mentions. And for folks who have watched the council meetings, you'll be able to, I'm sure you'll recall that in our Committee of the Whole, we'll often talk about what's happening within our districts and how that's been making such a difference on the county as a whole. We have taken an accumulation of uncollected taxes from about 2.4 million when we were elected in 2020 and reduced it to just 1.4 million in just 3 years because we've increased the number of tax sales we're doing each year. We, again, had the successful tender of the West Richmond Education School for seniors housing. It took some time in that project to obtain clear title to the building. But once we did, we immediately began looking at options that would enable us to designate that asset for housing purposes, just recognizing the incredible need for housing in our communities. We are also moving towards meeting our environmental and sustainability responsibilities through landfill closures that had been left lagging for years and years, and by contributing to reserves that will support infrastructure renewal. One of our guiding principles, I have to say, has been to stop kicking the can down the road on major issues, while at the same time working hard to maintain affordability here. Richmond County is, like many rural municipalities, we are in an infrastructure deficit, meaning that in the past, we have not incrementally saved what we needed to ensure that in the future, we can safely and environmentally responsibly provide services like closing the old landfills, like renewal of water and sewer systems. Although, some of the work we did around the water study doesn't really apply to District 4, it does have an impact on the county as a whole and some of the other communities that have those water systems. The bottom line is a rate review needs to be done on these types of utilities every so often, and we need to make sure that we're planning for the future. And the risk we run is that we're not able to provide effective services to our constituents. We initially, in our first couple of years, we did increase the tax rate. We walked into those council chambers to a municipality that had been largely gutted of its capacity. So we felt very strongly that we needed to do an incremental increase on the tax rate to restore some of the capacity so that the municipality would be able to be more effective in how it's managing everything from public works to recreation programming to, again, our grants policy. But in doing so, we were in the middle of that pandemic. Then, of course, we saw property assessment values start to increase astronomically. So we put a freeze on that. We have not increased the tax rate in the last 2 years. And although the municipality doesn't control the assessment value of properties, that's a provincial corporation that holds that role, we are still very conscious of the fact that with the tax rate mechanism, we have it gives us more ability to be able to help with the affordability issue that many people are facing. And so that's why we have not increased the tax rate in the last 2 years. We don't have control over those other essentials, everything from the cost of gas to the cost of, groceries to the cost of energy. So, we felt it was important for us to listen to our constituents, hear what they were saying and their concerns about affordability and what they're paying in property tax, and put a freeze on the tax rate increase so that we would be able to help them, but also be able to function well as a municipality. So we are looking at ways to help, and one of the ways we did look at is the development of the low-income property tax exemption that I mentioned. Maintaining our quality of life here and the affordability of living here is why we are pursuing as a county so hard new business developments, particularly, as I mentioned, in the Point Tupper Heavy Industrial Park. The tax income from our current employers in Point Tupper, and of course, Port Hawkesbury Paper has been there for a very long time, the former New Star, now Everwind facility, and then the new projects that are being developed, they all directly contribute to our ability to maintain a low tax rates, one of the lowest in the province. And so the tax income that we gain from Point Tupper and from working with the new businesses to be established in Point Tupper, they will directly contribute to what we are able to do as a municipality to continue to provide stable and safe services, but also to keep affordability in mind for our residents. So I'd like to close by talking about Council's desire and my desire in particular to continue to work on the affordability challenge in the next 4 years, to stimulate new housing developments, to recruit new healthcare professionals, along with supporting those who are already here, and to providing the conditions for success for new businesses wanting to locate here. we've had a lot of conversations with different stakeholders in the community. Again, I mentioned the Seniors Take Action Coalition. Age-friendly programming continues to be a focus. We need to make sure that it stays that way. We need to look at continuing to invest back in our communities and improving service to residents and businesses. And for folks who are going to be checking their mail this week, you'll find this card in your mailbox, hopefully. It would have gone out earlier this week. And it basically talks about an election platform with 3 key pillars: improving services, planning for growth, and creating positive change. Those are the same 3 pillars that I campaigned on in 2020, and they're staying the same because they are not short-term, one-term goals. These are the goals, the long-term goals that we need to be pursuing in order to make Richmond County a better place to live and an affordable place to live, not just in the next 2 to 4 years, but in the next 20 to 30 to 40 years. And that is really the mindset that I think municipal councillors have to come into council with. They owe it to their constituents, not just to be planning for the now, but to be planning for the future. So other things that, I think we need to be focusing on in the next 4 years are looking at ways to improve our emergency planning and to incorporating the priorities of seniors into those initiatives through things such as the Voluntary Vulnerable Persons Registry and improved cell phone capacity, cell service capacity. We need to really be thinking about how we move forward as a team at the council table as well, so that we're making decisions that benefit the county as a whole and not just looking and reflecting on what's in our own districts. I think we need to keep our eye on the ball for these long-term goals. We are on the verge of a green energy sector emerging here with the production or the establishment of 2 hydrogen production facilities. And this is work that is going to directly have a positive impact, just as the presence of the Port Hawkesbury paper mill, just as the presence of the Nova Scotia power plant, Cabot Gypsum. All of those industries have a direct positive impact. So our commitment needs to be very clearly on attracting new businesses, so that especially these new businesses, so that we can continue to provide a good quality of life and improve the quality of life that we have here for people. So what I would say is that on October 19th, please take the time to come out and vote. It's a Saturday. Hopefully the weather will cooperate. There'll be polling stations, and all that information will be published on the Richmond County website. There's advance polls on the 12th and the 15th for the folks in District 4. You can find those advance polls at the Bonnie Bray Seniors Club. We've made great progress over the last 4 years, but there's lots more to do. And I think I would ask constituents in District 4 in particular, but all across the county, to consider that when October 19th rolls around. Please cast your vote to elect a cohesive team that can move Richmond County forward.